In this week's parsha, we have some mitzvahs that really require some thought about how we teach them to our children. This week's parsha, for instance, we have the mitzvah of the lav of ribbis. You can't lend somebody money and expect to get paid back interest. But we all know today we have something called a heter iska. If you want to borrow with ribbis, there's a heter iska. You write a document that makes it into an iska, and with that you could lend with ribbis. And many of our children look at this as what they see as a loophole in the law. The Chazal created a loophole. The Torah didn't want you to do something. Chazal went and created a loophole. And to children, that's an opening to saying, why can't we have any other loophole that I come up with? Why would Chazal make a loophole? We have a similar idea by Prusbel. And it's very important that when we explain our children how heter iska works, we explain them the background of the loan. We explain them the background of the halacha, what type of loan the Torah was really referring to, and why a heter iska was instituted, not just as a loophole to the law. And what do I mean by that? I'll explain it very in short. Back in the olden days, people didn't buy houses, they didn't buy cars, they weren't buying businesses. If someone went to his friend to borrow money, it's because that day he didn't earn enough money. That day he didn't have money for supper, and he needed to borrow money for a day or two, hoping to pay it back. And the Torah teaches us that every person should be treated like your brother. And if your brother came to you and said, I need money for tonight for dinner, and you say to him, okay, but pay me back double, you'd say, huh? The same thing the Torah is telling us, that every Yid is your brother. And if someone comes to you for a loan, how can you charge him interest? But then the economy changed. And as the economy changed, and people wanted to borrow money not for supper tonight, to buy a house, for business events, right? And now you want to invest in a business. So that's very different. And that's where Chazal said a heter iska, where you're a partner in the person's business, because that wasn't the intent of the Torah's law against ribbis. The intent of the Torah's law against ribbis was not to rip off your neighbor, because you need supper tonight. It wasn't meant for someone who wants to go start a business, someone who wants to buy a house that takes 30 years to pay. That's not what the Torah's intent was. And therefore Chazal said, therefore, once the economy changed and people needed to borrow money for something else, we put in a heter iska. It's not a loophole, it's a different use. And it's very important that we explain that to our children. Otherwise they think, why can't they find loopholes in every law? Have a good Shabbos.